Imagine this, a dimly lit gym, the air thick with the scent of sweat and determination, the rhythmic thuds of gloves smashing against pads, echoing through the space like a war drum. In the heart of it all, a legend stands, Quentin Rampage Jackson, his muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike, his eyes burning with a fire that has refused to fade even after all these years. He moves with purpose, his fists launching forward with the same terrifying force that once sent opponents crashing to the canvas. The whispers in the gym have turned into excited murmurs. Rampage still has it. And not just in a nostalgic, he was great in his prime kind of way. No, this is something else. This is the rebirth of a warrior with unfinished business, a man who has waited over a decade for a shot at revenge. And now, the moment is finally here. On April 12, inside the pit in Albuquerque, New Mexico, history will be rewritten. Two titans of the fight game, bound by past rivalry and an undying thirst for competition, will step into the ring, not as aging warriors clinging to past glory, but as two men who refuse to let the final chapter of their story be written by anyone but themselves. Rampage Jackson and Rashad Evans, two names that once defined an era in mixed martial arts, are set to collide once more, not in a cage, but in a boxing ring. And for Rampage, this isn't just another fight. This is a reckoning. 14 years ago, at UFC 114, Rashad Evans walked away with the victory. A unanimous decision, a fight that Rampage has replayed in his mind countless times, every moment burned into his memory like a scar that refuses to fade. He had lost that night, not just a fight, but a piece of himself. And while the world moved on, while new stars emerged and the sport evolved, Rampage never forgot. Revenge, after all, is a dish best served cold. And now, after all these years, he finally has the chance to return the favor. But how much does he have left? Can the man who once struck fear into the hearts of his opponents still summon the destructive power that made him one of the most feared fighters of his time? The answer, according to those who have seen him train, is a resounding yes. Shawne Merriman, a name synonymous with relentless aggression in the NFL, has seen Rampage up close. A respected figure in both football and combat sports, Merriman isn't the type to throw around empty praise. But after witnessing Rampage in the gym firsthand, he couldn't hide his excitement. "It's funny," Merriman said in an exclusive interview, a grin creeping onto his face. "I actually trained with Rampage a few months ago in Long Beach with Antonio McKee. I saw him sparring, I saw the way he moved, and I can tell you he can still get after it. It wasn't just nostalgia talking. This was real." Rampage wasn't showing up just to collect a paycheck. He wasn't here for a farewell tour. He was here to win. And Evans, the former light heavyweight champion, the man whose quickness and fight IQ once made him a nightmare for anyone in the division, has never let his body go. In the 10 years that Merriman has known him, Rashad has always stayed in peak shape, never allowing time to erode the machine that carried him to UFC gold. "He's still in shape," Merriman admitted. "He's never let himself go." And when he and Rampage talked about doing this, they weren't looking to just show up. They wanted to put on a real fight. But what does that mean for this showdown? Does it mean that Rampage will finally get his revenge? Or does it mean that Rashad Evans, with his footwork and experience, will once again prove that he has Rampage's number? The stakes are higher than ever. Not because a belt is on the line. Not because there's a title shot waiting on the other side. This is personal. This is legacy. Merriman, a man who has experienced war in the trenches of the NFL, and trained with some of the most feared fighters in MMA, knows what it's like to feel that fire. He even came dangerously close to experiencing it firsthand in a way he never expected. Years ago, when he was diving into MMA training, he was given the opportunity to work with a man who was, at the time, the reigning UFC heavyweight champion Randy Couture. Now, for most people, sparring with a UFC champion would be a dream come true. But for Merriman, it was something else entirely. Couture wasn't just any fighter. He was a machine, a tactical genius inside the cage who had dismantled some of the greatest warriors to ever step into the octagon. As Merriman stood there, wrapping his hands, the realization hit him he might actually have to fight Randy Couture, a man who had crushed giants, who had turned unstoppable athletes into helpless ragdolls. And in that moment, Merriman did something that most men wouldn't have had the sense to do. He hesitated. Because some battles aren't worth fighting. Some wars are best left to the warriors trained for them. But for Rampage and Rashad, this is their world. Their war. And on April 12, when they meet under the bright lights, when the crowd roars and the echoes of their rivalry come flooding back, only one will walk away knowing that they had the final say in this story. And right now, the whispers in the gym say it might just be Rampage. But whispers don't win fights. Fists do. And when that first bell rings, all the talk, all the predictions, all the nostalgia, it all disappears. Only the truth remains. The countdown to April 12 is no longer measured in months or weeks, it's now just days away. The tension is thick enough to slice with a knife, and both men know there is no turning back. This isn't just about proving they can still fight. This isn't just a spectacle for old fans who want one last glimpse of their heroes. No, this is about something far deeper. This is about the ghosts that haunt them, about the unspoken truths only warriors understand. For Rampage, this is the moment that has consumed him for over a decade. When the lights went down that night at UFC 114, when his hand wasn't raised, something inside him fractured. He never forgot the sting of that loss, the frustration, the burning question of what if? What if he had trained differently? What if he had pushed harder in those final rounds? What if he had done just one thing differently that night? He has lived with that torment, carrying it like a wound that never fully heals. But now, the wound has a chance to close. Not with words, not with theories, but with his own fists. Antonio McKee, one of the sharpest minds in MMA, has been guiding Rampage through the trenches of his training camp. What he's seen is a man who refuses to let time define him, who still moves with a purpose that fighters half his age struggle to match. Rashad Evans, on the other hand, has never been one to let the past haunt him. He's always been the cerebral fighter, the strategist, the man who breaks opponents down piece by piece. He's the fighter who, even when he wasn't the fastest or strongest in the cage, always found a way to win. And he did that to Rampage once before. He outworked him, outfought him. And when the fight was over, there was no doubt Rashad was the better man that night. But time has a way of reshaping things. What happened in 2010 doesn't matter when the bell rings in 2025. Experience doesn't step into the ring, men do. And Rashad knows this. He knows Rampage is coming in angry, coming in desperate to erase the past. But desperation can be dangerous. It can make a fighter reckless, make him lunge when he should wait, swing wildly when he should be precise. Rashad's mind is his greatest weapon, and he plans to use it the same way he did before to turn the storm of Rampage's aggression against him. The question is, can he still move the way he once did? Can he still slip punches, use angles, frustrate his opponent into making the same mistakes? Those who have watched him train say yes. He's still in shape. He still has that same laser focus. And unlike Rampage, he isn't driven by revenge. He isn't chained to the past. He's here because he loves to fight. And that might just be the edge he needs. But deep down, they both know this isn't just about skill. This is about who wants it more. Merriman, despite knowing both men, refused to pick a side. He's seen them both in their element. He knows what they're capable of. And even with all his experience in high-stakes battles, even after stepping into the world of combat sports himself, he couldn't call it. It's gonna be tough, he admitted. I know both guys. I know what they can do. And when they told me they wanted to put on a show, I believed them. And that's the key. This isn't going to be some slow-paced, half-hearted reunion of old rivals. This is going to be a war. Rampage isn't the kind of fighter who comes to dance around. When he fights to hurt people. His hooks are still as brutal as ever. His ability to generate power from short distances, still capable of dropping anyone if they aren't careful. And Rashad. He may not be the knockout artist Rampage is, but he's always had the ability to make fighters pay for their mistakes. And if Rampage comes in too wild, too eager to get revenge, Rashad might just make him relive the nightmare of 2010 all over again. There's an electricity in the air around this fight, a feeling that it's bigger than just a spectacle. It's about pride, about legacy, about answering the kind of questions that haunt every fighter once their prime fades. Can I still do this? Do I still have one last great fight in me? We're about to find out. Because when the bell rings, when the first punch lands, when the echoes of their rivalry come crashing into reality, there will be no hiding. No excuses. No debates. Only the truth. And in the fight game, truth is written in blood and sweat. This isn't a farewell. This is a reckoning.